computer. So RuthAnn, welcome to the Digi Dialogue Roundtable session. And so I always like to start out to get a little bit of information about who you are, whatever you're comfortable sharing personally and also professionally. Who is RuthAnn?
So I am a Midwestern girl. I was born and raised in Kansas City, and I love it here. And I am a mom, and we're hoping to grow our family soon. Love being a mom. And I'm a creative. I have always been very creative and like wanting to do artistic things. And so creating a business for myself was the solution for me.
Well, we're just going to jump right into that. The name of your business is Artspace. Am I saying that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And tell us more about your business. What kind of expertise and services do you provide?
Yes. So it started as a side hustle back in 2016, and I did it for 3 years on the side to my day job. And during that time, it was trial and error. I feel like I made every mistake that you could make, shiny object syndrome, comparison troubles, like the whole thing. And yeah, it was just a huge learning experience for me. I did start off with branding and website design, and I started off with photography. Since then, I have dropped photography, but I went full-time in 2019, and it has been a dream come true just because I can be a stay-at-home mom with my son and work the hours that I can work on my business, which is normally 15 to 20 hours a week, and be able to contribute to the family and do what I love to do. So I help women coaches with their online presence. From start to finish, I help them with visual branding and website design, and I just love it.
And I'm sure when we've had a one-to-one, we've talked about how similar our paths were to a certain degree. I too launched my business after being a side hustle in 2019. And I too suffered and continue to suffer through shiny penny syndrome. That's so hard for a multi-potentialite like myself. And I believe you're a multi-potentialite as well. So thanks for sharing that. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about websites. And what is the purpose of a business having a website?
Well, I think there's so many reasons, but I would say my top 3 reasons are: number one, it's what you own. And so on social media, so many times people like falsely assume that it's their own platform, that they have their followers. And that is just not true, because I had a friend whose Instagram was just like shut down, and she had thousands of followers, and she just had to start over. And that's that happens a lot, actually. So I think it's very important to have your own space on the interwebs, and that would be a website. You can put whatever information you want on there, especially if you have multiple offers. I just think it's just the best thing for a business to have in this 2022. It's very, very important to have. So number one, it's like your own little corner of the interwebs. And then number 2, it's where people can learn about you and your offers. They can really like get to know you as a person, especially if you have great copy, which I'm going to talk about that later. But it's just a great place for them to learn about all that you do, who you are, and if you really can connect with them. And thirdly, it's your number one employee. Like, it's working for you 24/7. It never shuts off. It's what will be helping you get leads and calls booked all the time. So I think it's really important that it's working for you and that it's set up for strategy and success.
So you sort of answer this question, but I'm going to ask it as a follow-up with a little spin on it, as far as why it's important for a small business to have a website. Like I said, you made 3 great points as to why it's important. My follow-up question is, as a small business owner yourself and everyone in this space, in this room today, it's hard to balance all the things. Mm-hmm. And there's no absolute secret sauce, perfect formula. But what kind of advice would you give a small business owner who might be in analysis paralysis as far as what their website should have? Now, you might be answering that a little bit later on, and if you are, we can get to it. But what would you say to someone who's like, oh, I have this small business, I have 0 web presence, I don't have a website, and I don't know what to do, and there's all these ways to do it. I don't know how to pick. How would you respond to that panic?
I would say start off with if you've never like had a website before, I think you can go the DIY route and create your own, which a lot of us have. And I think that's kind of like the natural thing you do. You buy a domain, you figure out you try to figure out what you're doing and you try to create a website. I feel like that's the long way around, but it it teaches you a lot. I think it can waste a lot of time depending on how perfectionist
Mhm.
you are, but I think a great route for people just starting out is a website template. And that so many templates are designed to have all the things that you need in a template. So, and I think there's, some businesses do website templates better than others, but I think having a template, it already gives you the homepage, the about page, it's already laid out beautifully. And all you have to do is just kind of put your information in there. So that's what I would say about that. I would
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. That's a great answer. Thank you. So how would you say women solopreneurs can use their website to establish and build, well, long-term relationships with their clients as well as potential customers?
I think it's great to have a blog on your website and to be known for something in your industry. So being like the go-to person for whatever it is that you do. And for me, like I specialize in Squarespace website design. And so I write a lot of blog posts about Squarespace. And so if someone's ever like I want to know about Squarespace or how to get started with Squarespace, they can go to my blog and find like a lot of blog posts about that. And I think that's a great way for people, if you're just starting out or if you've had your business for a while, is to have a blog and to just share your expertise, what you know about your subject, and answer people's questions. I think a blog is a great way to establish credibility and expertise in your field. And yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense too. The approach of how to start a relationship, they get to know you, they get to like you, and they get to trust you. So I think
Mhm.
that speaks to, if you're sharing your expertise and knowledge, that's one way that you're building that relationship, right?
Mhm.
Here's this information, I'm sharing it with you to help you as a
Yes.
business owner. And then they're like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. And then that's the beginning of a beautiful thing, right? I want to talk a little bit about domain names, URLs, and your thoughts on it. Like, I have a company name that is so vague, and that was intentional. And I got my
Mhm.
domain name that is so vague, ctdcreative.co. Doesn't even have the M at the end of it because someone else owns that. But I started hearing about one school of thought of finding domains that really speak to your brand position. So I went all crazy and found a new domain called businessrelationshipsmatter.com, because I'm a relationship marketing strategist. And so I would love to hear your thoughts and insights on the power of the domain name.
Well, I think, and when I saw this question, I thought that was very interesting. I think the easier the better. And I love that you switched it to something. Did you already switch over?
Well, I have it forwarding, so I haven't done a
Yeah. Mhm.
total
No,
rollover.
I think
And
that's smart to have the both because then
yeah,
people, if they still know your old one, because the old one was kind of, it was some letters, it was a .co. I think .co was really hard for people to remember.
mhm.
I totally recommend .com if you can find it. I recommend like full words if you can find it. If it's not the name of your business, like a full word like you have. Um, so I love that you kind of switched it over and you have the both of them. I think that's really, really smart. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say try to, and just worked on a website for someone and she had like 7 forwarding domains, which I thought was really smart. She had her name and her like the full name of her business, the abbreviated name of her business. I don't know. I just thought it was like really, really smart. And I personally don't have that for my own business, but I do think that's smart to have several different options. So people, when they type it in, they go straight to your website from several different places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. I feel validated now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Um, okay. So what kind of trends are you seeing or coming up for websites?
There are several. I would say less words is starting to, I feel like that's been on the rise for a little while. It's more They want more immersive experiences, bigger pictures, video for sure. Um, icons and graphics to break up the text. Websites that are super text heavy, they're great for SEO, but I think it's a little bit dated. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm
Oh,
saying yes, that's interesting because I was curious about SEO because they say get those keywords on there and all that.
yes. Yeah. There's so many ways you can do SEO. That's something I could talk about for a long time. But I feel like SEO is a lot like your health. There's so many ways you can get healthy. There's just loads of ways. And that's the same with SEO. There are tons of ways you can grow your SEO. But yes, having keywords is very one of many things you can do.
I
And I would say like mobile also for websites is really important to think about your mobile experience because so many people are on mobile nowadays. I think it's super important to look at that
Mhm.
like along with your desktop experience.
Yes, and when you look at your analytics, like I went with my clients, some of my clients all pay it just a loose attention to analytics.
Mhm.
Watching the trend of more people, of course, are looking at her site on their cell phone. So
Yes.
having it cell phone friendly is very important. Are there
Mhm.
any other must-haves that you can think of that should be on a good website, in your opinion?
I would say having a way for people to connect with you, to take it beyond the website, sign up for an email list. I think that's super important. And that's another place that you own the space, so to speak, like you own your newsletter list and you can connect with them at any time. It's not subject to algorithms. So I would say have a place for people to connect with you outside your website. If you're like active on Instagram saying, get to know me on Instagram, that's a great, just different touch points that you can connect with someone.
Mhm.
Number two, I would say have really strong calls to action and have calls to action on every single page. That's something I see um, people not take advantage of sometimes. Like on the about page, there's no call to action. I was like, there should be a call to action on every page. And then number three, having strong copy, I think is incredibly important. If people are interested in the design, that's a good thing. But then they start reading and they're not interested at all because it's boring, it's flat, it's not speaking to them. I think that is a huge lost opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Let me go back to the call to action. Yes, 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 on every page. Should it be one call to action throughout the site, or can you mix it up, in your
I
opinion?
mix it up personally, yes,
Okay.
because sometimes people, and there's probably a few rules of thumb to this, but you want to have your primary call to action, which is to book a free call or to fill out your contact form or something. So you want to have a primary call to action and then like a secondary call to action, which is like, you know, something else. And then a third. So you can have several different tiers, but make sure your primary one is getting the most attention.
Get the most real estate. And
Yes.
how do you see your business website intersecting with your overall marketing activities? You talked a little bit about, social media, having those
Mhm.
touch points. Is there other thoughts that you might have as far as other kinds of marketing activities that the website is a great tool for?
I think it's really good to point people back to your website because most of the time people have no reason to go to your website unless they're interested in your service. So, whenever you can point people back to your website, I think it's a great thing that you can intertwine with your other social medias and marketing activities, like having a blog, for example, or if you're doing um, some type of like promotion or like a discount in your shop or something, or if you're wanting just to promote one of your services, like pointing people, you want people to be on your website because that's where they normally book the calls from.
Okay. Well, the final question I have, and then we're going to be taking some questions in studio audience that is off camera. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat right now. That'd be great. What do you think is like the biggest, most obvious thing people don't think about when it comes to their website, an element of it?
I think simply explaining what you do is the most obvious, but a lot of people miss it. They don't clearly explain what they do. It's a little bit like confusing and it's like, wait, what do you do? Like how do you help people, like when you get down to the basics, how can I pay you? Just like it seems complicated. And that's what happens when you do your own website. I feel like a lot of the time you just don't have that clarity when you're doing it yourself. It's you get a lot of clarity from like another perspective or something. But I would say, yeah, simply explaining what you do is a missed opportunity as well.
And we do have a question from the studio audience. Beth asks, how often do you recommend that people refresh their website? Oh, here comes our other studio audience, live in studio.
Do you want to sit with me? How often should you refresh your website? I would say it's good to look at it every 6 months. I think, especially if you are up, like switching out your services or like changing the prices. I think it's really good to review it every 6 months to make some changes, update the photos, stuff like that. That's what I do, but I am a website designer, so I don't. I would say yearly at the least, for sure.
Okay. Hi, little fella.
Can you say hi?
Yeah. So Nicole has a question. What is the best way to capture people once they're on your website? So I think that speaks to minimizing your bounce rate, right? Am I talking a little web lingo there?
No. So the bounce rate is when people leave the site, they come to the site and they leave pretty much immediately. They're not clicking around. They're not reading what you have written and stuff. So I think you do want to keep people on your site as long as possible. I think having interesting elements on your site, having, interesting design elements, video, copy, I think is a huge part of it. And we do have a copywriter in the group, but I would say copy is huge, because if it's engaging copy and it's really like speaking to someone, that will keep someone on the site if it's speaking to their pain points.
Okay.
Did that answer the question?
I think so. Nicole is asking a follow-up, like, how can I stay in touch? So I'm wondering if that's how she can stay in touch with you, or if that's a more general question, but I'm going to think it's the former. How can folks in the room or who are watching this video or listening to this audio in the future get in touch with you to learn more?
Yes. My website is the best way, artspace.com. And I'm on Instagram, r_artspace. Those two spots is where you can find me. Hey, we have to keep the headphones on. Okay,
we're going to wrap it up right now, which was perfect timing, so you can have your mommy back. So thank you so much, RuthAnn. Really
so
appreciate you sharing your expertise.